After you spend about 2 or 3 years in videography, you're probably wondering, how do you make your image look that much more appealing? You're considering buying a cinema lens, or you're considering going vintage. You know that both of these types of lenses offer character, but you're not sure where to start. I made this mistake, and I don't think you should make it either. So let's get into it. Using your typical photo lenses, your G Masters, your Sigma lenses, Zeiss, anything like that, those are the lenses that are easily accessible and that we all start to know about when we first get into the craft. After you've been in the craft for a while, you start to realize that not everything in post is really the way to go. You don't want to just try to add halation in post. You don't want to add extra bokeh in post or something of the sort. You want to make your image in camera look the look that you want it to ultimately appear when you deliver the product. Whether you're telling a really cinematic story, whether you are doing something for corporate, but you want it to just have a little bit of flair to separate you from competition, it matters. And so you're asking yourself, should I invest in a vintage lens to show that type of flair, that type of character, or should I get into Cine lenses? Well, I was really shocked to find out that the main difference between these two is how the character actually appears in these types of lenses. When you get into a Cine lens, you're going to notice that a lot of them are sharper in the middle of the image. So whatever you have for your subject, if you're shooting people, places, things, anything you shoot, the middle or the center of the image is going to be the sharpest thing in the image, which is great because it tells your subject what to focus on, right? It's also going to have a really nice roll-off to it. So the highlight roll-off of that image is going to allow the image to look more 3D, look more rounded. And ultimately, this is exactly what you want in order to show that something has character. It has a nice roll-off to it. It's not sharp everywhere in the image, but it's sharp where you need it to be. On the flip side, when you look at a vintage lens, you're going to notice character almost everywhere. If you're using something like the Helios 422, you're going to get that nice swirly bokeh when you're outside. You're going to notice that there's an ability to turn up and turn down the contrast within the actual lens. I had never experienced anything like that prior to using this lens. The characters are baked into both of them, but the types of character are very different. If you want to have character baked in everywhere, vintage lenses might be more of your way to go. Now, that's not to say that every Cine lens doesn't have that ability to have character everywhere, but it's a little bit more focused. Another thing I want to note about the differences between the two is that I personally feel like when I'm trying to make my image look more cinematic, look more appealing overall, with the vintage lens, I have to do a lot more manipulation with the light. And that's normal. It's pretty much the same thing when it comes to using photography lenses versus using Cine lenses. You have to add a little bit more shadow. You have to add a little bit more depth in order to make that image appear more 3D, appear more cinematic. That's okay. When you're using a Cine lens, on the other hand, again, because that highlight roll-off is really great, because the image overall is geared towards making film, it just appears to pop more. There's no other way to explain it. It's not, in my opinion, just character, it just pops. That's the best way I can explain it. So deciding between the two, I think, is not really a choice of which you should decide between. It's a choice of when you should go with one versus the other. A lot of times when I'm shooting things that I want to be professional or deliver to a client that is going to use them on their socials, run ads with them, I'll probably go ahead and shift more towards Cine lenses. Now, if I want them to have a certain look to the footage that they have, make it appear more dreamy, make it appear more cinematic in a storytelling way, yep, I might go ahead and throw on a Cine lens. So I think both are very useful and both are just absolutely awesome. If you're trying to level up your game in videography, get more into the cinematography side, I definitely would recommend getting into these types of lenses. Anyways, wanted to make this video nice and short. Hopefully answer a couple questions that you had or maybe misconceptions you might have thought between these two lenses, because I definitely think it matters. And I definitely think that if you're thinking about jumping into this type of work, it's something that you want to consider and know the differences. Very last thing I'll note is that Cine lenses are a little bit more on the pricier side, whereas vintage lenses are pretty inexpensive, depending on the ones you get. Now, if you're looking for something like those Petzval lenses, they are going to be a little bit on the price side as far as the vintage lens goes, but overall, still in a great budget realm for buying a new lens. So, thank you guys again for tuning into another video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.